I like to think of myself as a pretty positive person. In every situation, I want to find the good. I want to see the happy things. I don't want to focus on the bad things. But I have to admit, there are some things that make me furious. One of the things that makes me the most angry about books in general is the love triangle. I feel like more recently it's kind of calmed down. People aren't focusing on the love triangle anymore. It's just kind of run its course. It's done. We don't talk about that anymore. But you have to admit, there are still love triangles that are happening in the pop culture. I think that people don't understand that it's not cool and it was not fun in the first place. When I read The Hunger Games, I knew by book 1 who she was gonna pick. Normally you could see who's gonna win from the beginning. And it's never a struggle to be like, oh no, who is she gonna pick? Come on. Love triangles don't work for me, and when I see them in pop culture still, when I read a book and there's still a love triangle, I'm like, knock it off. No, 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 no. When a new book comes out and it has the Bible pages, you don't know how distraught I was on Winter's release day when I buy the book and see that it is the exact same size as Cress. When Marissa Meyer was like, oh, the book is like 800 pages, so it's gonna be huge, I was so excited. I wanted to see this massive behemoth of a book on my shelf. Boy, like, I want to see what I accomplished. I want to see that I read an 800-page book. I don't want to slay a lion and then see a little cat walking around. Let me see what I have done. And boy, let me tell you right now, if ACOWAR has those thin Bible pages, then there's another group of people. I've talked about this in a video I did a long time ago, but that was a long time ago, so let's talk about it again. People who spoil themselves. Get a new book and they flip to the end, they're flipping ahead, searching online for spoilers, they want spoilers. And when I mentioned this in my video, and I got a comment of somebody telling me, you're really ignorant, you don't know anything about people who spoil themselves, like, and back then, I was like, oh no, people are mad at me, I can't say anything, I'm gonna be nice, I'm gonna say it's my opinion, that it's sorry. If you're watching this and you're the person that called me out, first of all, it makes no sense to me. That's like saying you're going on a trip to the Europe, you take the plane to Europe, you've seen the Europe, then you fly back, and then be like, time to go on my boat to the Europe. What is the point? What is the point? Someone explain to me. The whole point of the book is to build up to this action. And people always say, I want to know what happens at the end and I can kind of see how it happens. Then why don't you read it and then figure out what is going to happen and make it a big surprise? Like, what if a character dies? You want to see how we're gonna get to the point where they die? What about me, who's gonna be surprised and shocked that this person is dead, instead of being like, on page 394 it said that he sneezed, alluding to him dying. Stupid! I'm sorry. No. A book is a journey. You need to take one step at a time, and skipping to the end ruins that for me, because when I read a book, I am there. I am living the life, I'm seeing the humans, I'm going on a journey. That's like fast forwarding to the end of the movie and then going back and being like, haha, I know what happened at the end of the movie. Another thing that bothers me is when there is a villain in a book who is described as being attractive, but this person is a ruthless dictator trying to overthrow the country and is a murderer, but they're attractive, so therefore the crimes they've committed and the betrayal they've committed and the murder they've committed doesn't matter. This person is trying to murder the main character, and he is trying to destroy the country piece by piece, but he's attractive, therefore it is acceptable. That makes sense. Someone goes to jail, but you're like, he's such a tortured soul, I still love him. Not today. Somebody's attractive doesn't mean the crimes they've committed don't exist. Another thing that bothers me so beyond anything else is when there are no character descriptions in your book, or like the descriptions just come later, so we're introduced to a human, you start picturing the human how your mind pictures the human. The author like drops a line later in the book being like, she has short black hair, but then I'm over here being like, why didn't you tell me that when we first met her? When I read A Darker Shade of Magic, we met Lila, and I immediately pictured her as having like blonde hair. Then like later in the book, it's described as her having really short black hair, and I'm like, haha, I'm fine. You can't describe a character later in the book when I need to know what they look like at the beginning or they're gonna look different. Even when it's like a setting, I picture a setting a certain way and it describes something about the setting that wasn't there in my mind setting, my mind just kind of explodes. Like me picturing a room being all pink and then you being like, the black walls were very shiny and beautiful. I just feel so attacked It takes me out of the book. Then we have the classic bad boy turned good. This one is annoying, and it can be done right. You can convince me that the person has a really tragic backstory and that's why they were the way they were. But if you're trying to tell me the love interest committed crimes, if you've read this piece of garbage, you know. But it's like played off as being like, oh, he has a tragic backstory. He was going through a hard time when it happened. I'm just gonna spoil this book because if you care about the ending of this book, obviously, like, you haven't read my review. Somebody recently commented on my review and told me that it was a bad review because I didn't like the abusive relationship. He burned down her house. If the police found him that night and they're like, yo, why would you ever burn down somebody's house? Oh, my mom died. Tragic backstory. Do you think the police would just be like, oh, you're free to go? No, it would not happen. So those are all my bookish pet peeves. Make sure to let me know in the comments what your bookish pet peeves are. Because often when like I say my opinion and people disagree, they think that it's like okay to tell me my opinion is wrong. It's an opinion. The whole point is that it's gonna be, you know, different. Please be respectful in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in my next one. Goodbye! Is that Bill Clinton? Oh my gosh, I love your work. Is that really Bill Clinton? I'm like, it might be. No, if it was Bill Clinton, there'd be like a lot of security. I thought I saw Bill Clinton earlier, but it wasn't really him.